news now. We now know why Interstate 80 around Lincoln was shut down for hours. The State Patrol says troopers spotted a man wanted in a Wisconsin missing persons case.
The incident led to the man's arrest and a tragic discovery. Dave Zavolinsky at the Alert Desk with what we know at this hour. Dave.
Jacqueline and Brian, about a 10-mile stretch of I-80 was shut down in the Lincoln area. After a brief pursuit, the suspect crashed and then ran away. It all happened in the dark of the morning hours. Nebraska State Patrol Superintendent Colonel Brian Waugh says it started after the patrol was notified of a vehicle in an endangered missing case out of Wisconsin. They were told that car might be heading west through Nebraska.
About 25 minutes after dispatchers received the initial information, a trooper located the vehicle on Interstate 80 in Lincoln and quickly observed that it was not the missing person who was driving. The trooper attempted a traffic stop at about 1:50 a.m. near the northwest 48th Street exit. The driver did not stop and eventually entered the eastbound lanes of Interstate 80, driving westbound into oncoming traffic. Thankfully, traffic was non-existent at the time.
Well, in the back seat of that vehicle, the troopers found a woman's body. We're told she died before the crash. They declined to confirm whether or not it was the woman reported missing in Wisconsin. That information will have to wait for positive identification and an autopsy. A trooper found the suspect walking about 4 miles away. He was taken into custody and is identified as Gavin Thompson. He's 23 years old from Dodgeville, Wisconsin. Police say he is the suspect in the disappearance there. Reporting from the Alert Desk, I'm Dave Zavolinsky.
A lot of layers on that one. Thank you, Dave. A dispute between